Hello and welcome back to the 2024 Netrunner World Championships. I am Neuropantser, he, him. I am joined by, once again...
My name is Andrej from the Matchball Grid. I go by he, him.
Good to have you back, Andrej.
Thank you.
How's your day been so far?
It's been wild. The level of play outside, it's 16 players, started a couple hours ago. We're down to, is it half that, if not even less at this point?
I think it's half now. I think 4 and 4 have dropped.
There's been some wild games, obviously strong emotions. Lots of hugs, you know how it is out there. And we got a great game for you today. This is the lower, I'm never good at this.
I couldn't tell you which round it is in the lower bracket exactly, but the important thing is this is a lower bracket game. Sokka and tzeentchling are fighting for their tournament life. Exactly. A win and you go home.
This is double elimination. So both of these players have already taken one loss in their earlier round. So this could be their final game for the World Championship 2024. Of course, on the left, if you don't know, that's Sokka, our two-time, currently 2023-2022 world champion, trying to go for the three-peat. He's actually played this matchup before. This on the right, this is tzeentchling. Tzeentchling, a local player, is playing this Asa Group deck. This is such a cool deck. It's called the Jukebox Asa, and it is a deck that can get a lot of clicks. It's playing MC Austerity. It has a lot of ways to score 5-3s on a fast advance plan, and Austerity policy, taking clicks away, is a really nice thing into what's expected here, Sokka's 2 deep dives.
Yeah. And you're bringing up the deck names. I love looking at the deck names that people submit. Once they actually get to the top 16, we start being able to see them. Sokka submitted this as flexible deck.
It is a flexible deck?
It is very flexible. It can do a lot of things. We're seeing one of those things right here, which is just turn 1, install an SMC, install a trick shot. I'm going to get value no matter what you do.
Yes, so you can be reactive to this. This both pressures the remote server and R&D, and understanding the corporation, tzeentchling can only res one of these cards. Audacity on the top, a bit of fast advance, into a Tattoo Bullet. 2 big full arts. Sokka going to take some notes there, and we're going to see swing on the remote server. For 6 credits here, just about any ice can get through. This deck is slightly different than what you might have seen Sokka winning multiple nationals this season. The code gate slot is now on a buzzsaw, which is pretty fascinating. And we also have a bit of a K2CP turbine, which could show up in a later time. Probably not so much this deck, but for some of the bigger ice that we're seeing across the Ag Confusion decks this weekend.
So it looks like tzeentchling is considering a res here.
Trying to see again. If you do not res, it forces the self-modifying code sometimes to be popped. You're not going to spend 6 credits trashing a card on the Asa Group remote server. I think the best case would be a Tranquility home grade. There's only 1 in this deck. So you have a limited options how to spend those credits. Sometimes you'll just send that into what you think is the best breaker, whether you want to set up really quickly with a Parisha, just pull that anyways to be ready to trash some stuff, or a compilation. So we're seeing
I could definitely see an argument for pull out the buzzsaw right now, get the full value, spend all 6. Yeah. I think that's also a solid option here.
We might see a Revolver, but it looks like actually just an early turbine. That is a 6-credit install. Just getting that down as soon as possible. Going to save you some good credits. Now, Revolver, you don't have to boost into a drafter, and Rashida.
Oh, and that's a Rashida. The Rashida goes down.
Sokka specifically said he played into this matchup in round 13, and his opponent, I believe it was Nightcry, drew 3 Rashidas in 3 turns. And so that's not going to be the start here that tzeentchling is going to have on the right side. I want to shout out, tzeentchling has just been, this is his 8th World Championship in a row. And now here to be across from a Sokka, just had a fantastic weekend, is an absolute treat. 2 fantastic players.
tzeentchling's had a fantastic weekend, too. Was able to ID into the top cut in the last round, I believe.
I think that sounds right.
Just a great weekend from Chris here. That is a Tattoo Bola drawn into the hand. We already knew about the Audacity as well. So the Audacity, obviously one of the marquee cards in this deck, one of the reasons that it is able to steal wins out of nowhere, it feels.
There's a bit of reach in this deck. We've seen a bit of Biotic Labor, Asa Group. Mind you, there's much more Asa Group in the top cut than Precision Design. Might have been a surprise to some, but the flexible play lines you have here to build these remote servers to cause these additional problems. And speaking of a problem here,
MCA.
Austerity policy. This is a wild, older FFG card. When this came out, I remember this being such a strong thing. Not only does it give you a win condition later down the line if you invest those clicks into it, it's going to be taking clicks away from Sokka. Now, clicks matter, obviously. Lets you time that lat draw, do all the sort of stuff you want to do in Netrunner. But specifically, when it comes to Deep Dive and the Ikuwa project, a 5-3 that you need to spend a click and 2 credits to steal from central servers, let alone the table, you're going to have fewer clicks to do those dives.
Yeah, and obviously Sokka is on Hannah Wheels as some tech to gain clicks, but you really don't want to use that to... You don't want to have to use that to fire off a deep dive in the first place. You want to use it to fire off a big deep dive with the click left.
Sokka likely you generally want to steal your first points, from central servers and then close the game in with a deep dive. You talked about Hannah showing up here again. A way to check the remote servers is quite nice. We also have DJ Fenris. Sometimes you'll go for that Sable. Again, it's the HB matchup that you really need those extra clicks when you're diving deep. And here, a bit of a simple turn. We're going to try and match that lat hand size. Again, lat. Sokka's been playing lat all summer largely, trying to match hand size to get an extra card draw at the end of the turn. tzeentchling going to use that Asa install in the remote server. Now we have 2 problems on the table, and Sokka has, I believe, 2 pinhole threadings at some point in the deck to maybe deal with that austerity.
Yeah, exactly 2 pinhole threadings. Now, notably, going for the Turban install early does make Hagen more of a threat than it normally would be because it does have a trash target now.
Now, there is a hog in this list. We'll see Sokka again checking. This is an open deck list, so every player knows every card in their opponent's deck. You can always check that during the match. We see that on camera there. So the question is, how do you contest this? We've used 1 self-modifying code. We have something like a Simo chip, of course, that's the full playset in this list. We might be able to check the remote server. Another common play pattern with austerity policy, you sometimes want to put pressure on HQ because you're assuming that an agenda will be scored either this turn or the following turn, a 5-3 or a 4-2. So we're going to charge.
Okay, this is going into the remote with 2 face downs in it.
Now, this ice wasn't rezzed earlier. tzeentchling is struggling to get economy, only on 5 credits. We haven't seen fully ops yet, but a pulse.
That is a pulse.
Not a card you see too commonly. Harmonics, and the only harmonic we're going to see in this list. You're not going to have to worry about any of those bloops doing core damage and trashing programs.
So the runner loses click, so down to 1 click this turn.
And now you lose a credit, and it's your choice whether you want to get through this without a breaker, but putting you on no more clicks after the austerity policy as well.
So if it's an Ikawa in this server, it's fairly safe. Though it would be a difficult install here because really not threatening to score for quite a while.
I think the best case here is there's a cohort that sticks or Rashida for the corporation here. But if Sokka wants to click through there, accessing on a healthy 9 credits, it looks like we're just going to walk away, get down, a Simul chip. We'll see tzeentchling, I think, is flipping Rashida there. Oh, a cohort.
A cohort. Also
equally
a very
cool.
good flip.
Yes, a very great card.
Cohort going to trash a card from hand, draw a card, and gain 2 credits. And in future turns, we now have a face-down card in Archives, so Cohort becomes a fast advance threat in future turns.
Yes, or a never advance, right? Because you need to invest something on the table to get that flip. And that's something that's very powerful. Asa Group can put those servers and present all these problems. The powers that be, the MC austerity, you can't check all of them. Can you run Archives and spend one of your 3 clicks to get that flip?
Is fast never advanced a thing? Because that's basically what it is. It is scoring something off the table that you normally wouldn't be able to.
tzeentchling thinking here again, fully operational would be a nice bounce back on 5 credits. Maybe you want some card draw.
Okay, here's a stall with an ice on the outside using that Asa trigger. Another MCA, so MCA has ticked up to full 3.
Yeah, and only on 3. Maybe if the cohort sticks, you can afford to score at a 5-3. None of these 5-3s are really fantastic, besides maybe you can score to send a message, but at that point, you're totally bankrupt. You're going to have a liquidity problem. So this is just an austerity policy to keep the runner kind of in check.
Yeah, even with there is a wage workers in this list, I'm assuming. Probably multiples?
I'm just checking. Actually, yeah, there's 2.
Yeah. Wage workers doesn't quite do it because, well, at least with not without an MCA pop, because you advance, Audacity, you still need more money. You need 3 credits to do that, plus the 2 for the wage workers.
So we'll see here what tzeentchling wants to put on the table. Again, Rashida is the thing that Sokka wants to keep tzeentchling off. The fully operationals coming in will be a big rebound. Going to get down. That's a Prisha. Trashes assets.
Trashes assets. That's correct. So going into the server where there is a known asset. Oh, and this is a big piece of economy. If Sokka chooses to run through it, which is not the case here, can't, I guess, actually.
There's
and
the
that
Rashida.
is the Rashida.
Now, Chord's on top of an upgrade. It does look defensive. There's a Manic Arms, a 1 Tranquility, and a Mavirus, but the Rashida and the remote server tzeentchling definitely need. That's 2 Rashidas down in the first couple turns. Sokka definitely feeling good about that. Understanding that's the last way that his last game has slipped away.
Looks like declining to use the cohort this turn. Whatever's in hand seems good enough. So that is a pop on the MCA. No, it is a 4th counter on the MCA. Just continuing to drain this click from Sokka. Now it's a pop. Doesn't need that click. Would rather drain a click from Sokka.
You see some wild turns here. It's going to be slightly expensive.
And we have to get out extra click trackers here. So 5 clicks remaining, it looks like.
Yeah, this is like a tempo austerity. You don't totally see this, but have the explosive turn to set up. You actually can't get another austerity down, but we're just clicking for 3 credits. Spending a whole time there, taking clicks away from the runner, but building your own luminal transubstantiation. But only 4 credits. I think the hand might be flooded. It is open HQ. This is not a burner list. You don't often see burner and lat, but there's no doubt tzeentchling's holding some agendas here. And Sokka might poke, and there you go, straight into HQ. We do see the hand, actually.
I don't actually see agendas in here.
2 gatekeepers, a blade of a
number
seamless?
of gatekeepers, yeah.
I can't tell what one is, but that's a full art of bladed barrier from the last GNK kit, if I'm not mistaken. There's a lot of agendas in R&D.
There are,
Actually,
yeah.
so this list has fewer agendas than you might think. It's only on 8, which is, I think, the fewest you can put in a deck like this, just about. A lot of 5/3s. It's a full set of Ikawas and 1 send a message. So the density in R&D is relatively high now.
Here comes a Diesel.
Cards in hand, the Audacity. Scoring at a 3-2 if it's Illuminal might be something tzeentchling can do with this hand. We do know there's an Audacity in there, but we'll see if tzeentchling trades cards up with that cohort, trying to find some ice, a fully operational. Sokka not finding a console yet. Onacom is a 3 of. That's what he's been playing this whole summer and hasn't changed today, this weekend. Get you some passive card draw while playing those fantastic events. On 8 credits, we're still expecting 2 more trick shots and some overclocks as well. Clicking for credit and trying to match the hand size there, drawing into a creative commission with Lat. Cohort, I believe, just fired. Throwing out, gaining a card in 2, and then mandatory draw. Should give you some good options here for Asa Group.
Let's see what happens here from Chris. Pondering it, thinking it over, just found 2 new cards, so 2 new options. So we do see an install with another Asa install as ice on the outside.
With the 2 Rashidas down, that is definitely the explosive start you need.
Yeah.
With a double ice remote server in the Tattoo Bully, you're kind of okay no matter what's in the server. 5 cards in hand, you definitely want to make sure you're matching that with Lat, and so much of your turns will be planned around it. Looks like Sokka's pondering to use the Stone Chip chart room, just trash to draw 2.
Certainly not on a kill threat here. You're not worried about cards in hand to stay alive, so it's just a question of when do you use it, and I guess the answer is now.
We see a trick shot. A self-modifying code might be what you need here. Of course, you're going to have to get to the Tattoo Bull if you charge this remote server. The Fractor, if I'm not mistaken, actually is it's relatively cheap coming down on the propeller.
Yeah.
tzeentchling thinking, trying to hold down for a turn with face-down cards and archives. If there was 4 2s in this deck, could be great.
SMC comes down.
Self-modifying code, and we're just playing some operations, or sorry, 2 events in a row. Sure Gamble into Shaper, Sure Gamble, Creative Commission.
SMC, money, your go. What does your deck do?
Oh, tzeentchling looks like
we're about to find out what the deck does.
Might just be the Rashida. Okay, planning through the turn. This also might be a Spin Doctor res. A lot of times players want to do this. Looks like we also get down their Stone Chip chart room. I think there was a click
okay, they missed the click
on the Stone Chip.
Yeah.
So no res, Spin Doctor. Not dodging the lat draw, actually. I'm not sure if that worked or not, but you have a window there to deny the lat draw by resing the Spin Doctor. Not sure if that was missed. So we're drawing up options in hand. You can shuffle back the Rashidas if you want. We need to always think about a Blade of the Barrier. We're not on threat 3.
I don't think you want to shuffle back both Rashidas because there is a powers that be in this deck. And one of the best ways to follow up an agenda score if you are either low on tempo or don't have another agenda is just throw a Rashida in your worst server and say, come get it.
This is the weird thing about this deck, right? In terms of the tempo positive agendas.
So we do see one Rashida and an MCA come back.
Shuffling back that Spin Doctor. Again, that is removed from game, so that's not going to be an option with the Blade of Barrier, the drafters. But the agendas that are going to be on the table in this matchup, barring maybe, of course, the Luminal and the Vitruvius who can get a counter, aren't incredibly tempo positive. These are not going to be the off-world office swings. With so many of the points being on 5/3s, Sokka can understand what it takes for him to have to challenge a remote server. It's actually the assets in some ways that are going to be more threatening.
Yeah. So the Prisha likely to do a lot of work in this matchup, I have to think.
tzeentchling thinking this through. A lot of options in hand. You want to get the Asa install. Looks like we might be passing
on Asa. So it is just 3 installs, the old-fashioned way.
So cards we haven't seen yet. Any Wage Workers. There's another cohort somewhere in the list. Powers that be are most of the assets. Austerity Policy. I wonder if you take a minute, if you can, that turn just to get the power counter on it.
Haven't seen any fully operationals either. I imagine fully operational would be big right now for 4 charges.
On 9 credit, we can start to rest some of the more expensive ice in the deck. There's 1 MIC and 2 bronze, but Sokka has access to an Icebreaker with the self-modifying code and a very healthy 17 credits. Overclock in hand and Trick Shot as well. Revolver also. We have a bit of an MU problem. Self-modifying code does take up 2 MU. The Turbine and the Parisha are going to complete that 4 MU set. So if you can't find one of the 3 Onacoms here, it's hard to get the Revolver down, which means face checking to Drafter is not something you're excited about. When an operation goes back to hand, potentially Rashida can hit the table, and even an Asa install can happen on the turn. But pondering that overclock in Sokka's right hand.
Overclock, obviously, another way to get great value out of SMC. You get this free money for the run. And sure enough, just overclocking archives. Now, overclocking archives does have the additional value of turning off the advancement counter part of cohort guidance program. So this is a valuable run despite the fact that it is just archives. We do see the Buzzsaw come out from the SMC. So getting full value, all 5 of those credits going to that install. And we see another face down austerity. That seems like an ablative target to me. That seems like a powers that be target, making sure you have both that and the Rashida in the bin.
I don't know what tzeentchling's hand is. Sokka's had the time just to set up here, getting down a breaker and the turbine. It's only going to be a moment before the revolver comes down. The question is only just barriers. But this hasn't been the explosive start that I think tzeentchling definitely needs.
Are there just 9 points on the board right now? Are all 3 of those last installs agendas?
Hopefully we see a Rashida here, and we need an austerity, but Sokka has the time to set up, understanding, like, I know when I need to run the table with so many 5-3s. Hopefully, unless tzeentchling can sneak out a Luminal, Spin Doctor's a start, hopefully denying that lat draw.
And we do see Telework come down and get hit once. Steady value over time. We've talked about it multiple times this weekend, but Telework, one of those cards that works very well with Lat because Lat wants to trigger as many times as possible, and Telework is one of those steady value over time cards.
Thinking about how to push forward. 1 Spin Doctor empties, but 2 cards on the table. We're going to start with the Wage Workers.
Okay, Wage Workers.
Now this means we either are going to do a triple advance or a triple install. Triple install after the Spin Doctor makes a fair bit of sense.
I'm guessing a triple advance here.
But we have drawn through many cards, not an agenda in sight. HQ, after you see Austerities and Gatekeepers hitting the table. Buzzsaw into Turbine is still relatively reasonable for a 3-cost dice, at least for 1 turn before it returns to 0 on the following. But those cards hitting the bin, Cohort, also I don't think has fired just yet. Not sure if tzeentchling has done the mandatory draw just yet.
I don't think so.
Thinking about the table, well, with Wage Workers Res, maybe. If you do here, he might be considering triple advance into Audacity, having the Spin Doctor to save some of that hand. But
and
if
if that's a Vitruvius, that is 2 counters.
It's
that's
quite
pretty
fun.
big.
I think we've seen some of the SF players go for that Vitruvius on counters. That gives you that combo opportunity, things with Audacity, bring back their austerities turn after turn after turn. And it looks like that might be the case.
As well. We've seen, okay, so triple advance, Audacity.
That's seamless triple advance.
Oh.
I think it's a Vitruvius. It's a bit off camera. I think we're going to fix that.
It's a bit off camera. Okay.
There you go.
Great. So that's a Vitruvius with 2 counters.
So no need for the Audacity.
A Vitruvius with 2 counters can turn into Vitruvius with 3 counters because you, if you have a never advanced Vitruvius, you seamless advance, pull it back, seamless advance, pull it back, seamless advance. Oops, I have 3 counters now and 4 points.
Now
Those are the first points of the match, correct?
Yes.
Sokka's been playing a very deliberately paced game, I would say. Knows that he doesn't need to be going all out to challenge remote servers and go all out to challenge central servers quite yet. Can easily steal a few points, pull off a deep dive late. However, Chris is starting to threaten.
The credits are going to be a problem. Sokka might be able to take a minute here to trash. Yeah, the cohort coming down, breaking now for 1. The upgrade is going to be almost all of tzeentchling's money if it is the Managarm. If you also take down the Wage Workers here, you're going to use the Prisha credits. Just a Tranquility Home Grid. That's 4. And while Sokka has a very healthy 20 credits, we're going to spend most of our money on that. Now, taking down the Wage Workers, not necessary this turn, but if you want to just deny the fully operationals that haven't come up yet, just getting cards outside of assets is so important. Outside of servers, excuse me. Looks like a build script, photocopy, mind you. Proxies are legal at all levels of organized play, and a propeller is drawn to hand, so Sokka has established a whole breaker suite if you can take a click to put that down.
As Build Script's strongest defender, I am so glad to see it in the top cut here at the World Championships.
It's a bit nicer with Anacom, but just getting you what you need for 1 influence, just good enough. tzeentchling here has so much ability now to pull things back from the bin, whether you want to just over and over do the austerities, again, the seamless launches, chaining them into one another. It's hard to do more than 1 Audacity in the turn because it empties your hand, and you have to have a hand of at least a couple cards to play that.
With only 2 Vitruvius counters, it's very difficult. With 3...
you can do something.
You can do it.
You can maybe do something.
Because Audacity does count itself, correct?
It depends whose text you read. I think FFG says 3 counting itself. I think NSG says 2 other.
Okay.
And there's our first fully operational after installing 2 cards. So this will echo 3 extra times. It looks like we start with some card draw that we can get in, I believe, up to 6 extra credits for only 1. That's a lot of value. But
that is sure enough those 6 credits.
So Sokka here is smiling to see the board state. That is the sort of fully operational thing that happens. Now, these cards on the table, we've only seen 2 points so far. We're halfway through a 40-minute round.
I would imagine at least halfway through the deck as well, especially after that fully operational draw. They have been hiding from both players. The agendas are shy today.
And with 1 ice on R&D, we haven't seen any of our click canners. You're generally against HP, especially for a deck with 3 Equa projects. You're looking for the Hannah. You're looking for the DJ to get that Nusha, Sable, Sintashta to come down to get those extra clicks. If you want to be able to deep dive and steal points off of R&D, Sokka looking through the options of what's in the bin here. We're not on threat 3 yet. The 2 ablatives haven't shown up, but cards should not be recurring here. With a Revolver and Propeller in hand, we have an MU problem. We need one of these 3 Anacoms.
Yeah,
We're going to put all our
Anacoms
breakers on the table.
A really important card right now.
You might be able to jettison the Parisha. It's definitely going to be great in this matchup. There's a lot of assets still to trash, but the MU, you would definitely like to have it by now if you can, and I'm not sure if Sokka has access to that in hand. I think we also see maybe a Cupulation. It looks like there's a blue card in the corner. Another MU problem, potentially.
Yeah, Cupulation would make sense. There is a Cupulation in this deck. Revolver, they don't look that alike, so I'm guessing.
Oh, he
it's
has a
probably
Revolver. I think we saw a Revolver.
Okay.
Yeah, it might just be that.
There is definitely, there are 2 Revolvers, in fact, in this list.
Paragons for the Turbine's really nice now. Sokka was talking about this earlier today, that you don't have to boost. You do just spend bullets. You come in on at least Drafter. Makes it a bit easier also to get through Anansi. A really cool meta change for Worlds, and I think it turned out to be a great meta choice. Sokka thinking here he'd love to be able to scoop a 5-3. It could be an HQ, could be on the table, and with Wage Workers and access to Seamless Launch, any of these could be a 5-3. Even if you deal with the Wage Workers, you can still do that sort of double, Seamless Launch recursion.
And importantly, the double Seamless Advance line is very cheap.
Yeah,
it doesn't actually cheap. It does not put tzeentchling down on tempo to take that line.
Sokka drawing up here. Checking the pulse server only costs 1, and of course tzeentchling knows that, so why not put something valuable behind it? It's the clicks that matter, not so much the credits here, because Sokka still has to build a bit more of a board. Looks like a run event.
21 credits, and what are you doing with it? A pinhole.
On
pinhole
HQ.
into HQ, where is it going?
So we'll see. You don't have to say what you're going to access. It looks like the Wage Worker is going to go down for 2 and the Parisha.
RIP. No longer employed.
So now this makes it slightly harder. tzeentchling might have to exhaust those Vitruvius counters if he wants to score at a 5-3, never advance on the table. But coming down with the Propeller.
Propeller does come down. So that is now a way to break barriers and... Yeah, Tatubola, importantly.
A Blade of Barrier as well are the barriers you're expecting. There is one Hagen too. Now you do run out of counters at some point, but it looks like tzeentchling has it on the table. Another Vitruvius, just triple advances it. The Wage Workers denying the token. tzeentchling up on 4 credits, but not going for a Seamless Launch. Just getting up to game point. This is really frightening, potentially. There's no Claude. Not that this is going to be Claude. This is going to be never advanced, but at this point, any card on the table can just be Seamless Launch, Advance. This card wasn't rezzed. If it was a Wage Workers, would you have rezzed it? Maybe. If it was a Powers That Be, would you have rezzed it? Definitely.
Absolutely.
The options of what this is are relatively small. Cohort Guidance Program would even probably be rezzable.
Yeah. It could potentially be the 3rd Rashida, right? Because you don't want to res it that turn if you know you're scoring out. You're just going to have to discard cards.
Yeah, maybe. Could be Tranquility.
Be a Spin Doctor.
Spin? We'll see. We'll find out. We're
okay, yeah, we're going to find out.
Dirty Laundry.
Thank you, Sokka. Removing any questions that we had very soon. That is a virus. So it's just a waste your click, come to get this. Now, obviously, Sokka does get the Dirty Laundry value off the run, so it is not really a waste of click.
We can see a bit here of tzeentchling's hand. I think we see a Drafter, an Ablative Barrier, and a Cohort.
I do see the 2nd Cohort.
Now, this is where the Blade of Barrier gets interesting, and obviously a player like Sokka understands if you ever run last click and you allow the Corporation to res an Ablative, that can be tricky on some of the deep dive turns. If you can get into the right spot, that can bring back a Spin Doctor or Rashida. You can get cards on the table that you don't want them to survive a turn, or Wage Workers on an important turn.
Notably, it doesn't instantly cause lethal, though, as you would say, because it is a non-agenda card that has to be installed.
It's the Holloman deck, so you're a bit more frightened, and this is not one of those decks. This is a really cool deck. Shout out to the San Francisco team. They have 4 players in the top 16 coming in today. Revolver coming down, over-installing on the Parisha. MU is definitely taxed out here, so we have 6 bullets. That's a 3 strength breaker, perfectly lining up with the power of the K2CP Turbine. Thinking here, Sokka definitely want to find the first points, and HQ being wide open and still not being able to make runs because tzeentchling can make it all about the table. Install Advance. Audacity might be the call here.
Audacity?
This can just be a 3-2. We'd love to see the Luminal, and
That's the Luminal.
tzeentchling is flying up on 6 points.
On 6 points.
Now, very interestingly, there's only one more Vitruvius in the list, but if tzeentchling can just top deck that and have enough cards in hand and have only 1 credit, can just Audacity by pulling back the Vitruvius from the bin.
Yeah, this game can be over very quickly.
Now, it's only a single more Vitruvius. This is not a deck. It's mostly 5-3s and 3-2s. There's only one more Project Vitruvius.
We have exited Value Runner phase of the game, and we have entered keep R&D clean phase of the game.
Emergency. We have a full turn left here. We can't score. Just drawing up.
Just
I think it was a mana garm, maybe an MIC. Tzeentchling.
Saying, Sokka, would you like to waste some of your clicks coming to HQ? You need to keep it clean. You don't know if I have it.
HQ and R&D, it's all about this one more 3-2. If that comes off the top, it can be quite difficult. Sokka.
Now, what's the ice on R&D? That's a big question. If it costs more than 3, then the kill isn't live next turn, because you do need a credit to advance.
Yeah.
So if it's something like the Hagen, then that says you have at least one more turn.
So we'll see where the pressure goes off. The problem with deep dive, obviously you can see some points. It was a
shuffles,
tough thing.
Though.
It shuffles. It doesn't lock the top of the deck.
It's actually a pretty bad play unless you have wheels down, and you can take the last click to clear the top of R&D.
If you can take the Vitruvius, that's something, but with 9 points safe without a click gainer, those Ikoa projects that have not shown up yet are entirely safe to deep dives. Sokka, this table doesn't really have to be dealt with. All the assets are gone besides the Spin Doctor, and actually Spin Doctor is really important, because if you lock the top of the deck, you can actually shuffle 0 cards back in, so Tzeentchling can draw new cards and not get R&D locked. That can be important. You can go R&D, Spin Doctor R&D, and give the corporation the option to shuffle after, and so you can maybe see another single axis, but the single Vitruvius really matters. Coupulation, we're going to maybe flush HQ here. Over installing the propeller, we haven't seen a simul chip just yet, but the
there's
barriers...
one on the bin. There's one on the field right
Okay,
now.
we're sick.
We see a trick shot. That is a good way to... That's a good way to... Now, as you did mention, though, Spin Doctor does get around that, because you do get to shuffle.
Potentially, yeah. Tzeentchling can decide here. We're going to see 2 cards, and then the Spin Doctor can force a shuffle. We also might kidnap one of these cards and send it HQ. Top. Looks like maybe a Powers.
Powers.
A Rashida.
That's a Rashida. That's the 3rd Rashida. Well, another got shuffled back, so it's either the 2nd or the 3rd Rashida.
Now, this is a super cheap trash, which means the Spin Doctor, regardless, you're going to back and see new cards. So we're going to steal that, put it on the Coupulation. Considering it. Same cost,
that's a trash. That's a trash. Okay.
So now we can run
either
the Spin
way,
Doctor.
the top of R&D is now unknown, so we'll probably need to run back after this.
There's a chance there's face downs and archives are agendas, 5-3s that Tzeentchling could not handle.
Okay,
and it looks
trash
like
is the Spin Doctor, so the shuffle line is no longer on the table, quite literally.
Tzeentchling had the option of putting non-agendas back in the deck and calling the bluff here, and no bluff to be called.
No
A bunch of ice and a fully operational.
The fully operational. Now, obviously, not many actual installed cards in these remotes, so fully operational, despite its ceiling.
Oh, this is incredible.
Takes
Tzeentchling not pulling the Vitruvius back and so stealing the Audacity.
Takes the Audacity.
Does work from Archive. Sokka feeling pretty smug about that, saying you're going to have to score on the table, and the table, as much as there's barriers that can't exactly be broken this turn.
That is the only Audacity in the list,
Oh,
correct?
yeah, that's the only Audacity. Austerity is the only other way to fast advance, and drawing one off the top there. I don't know if we even see the Vitruvius, but putting cards on the table, again, even a never advance can threaten the 5-3.
And an install. Res the Austerity, here comes the Austerity.
You can build weird lines with Austerity and maybe a Pulse that it's really hard to steal the Ikoa on the table. Yeah. And then as long as you have the modicum of 3 credits, you can do the seamless advance with the Vitruvius power. But the problem here, Tzeentchling, we saw throughout a fully operational, doesn't have a lot of money here. I think all Rashidas, if not most of them, are accounted for.
There's one left in the deck because one got shuffled back.
But now cards on the table. One of them is an Austerity, so that's only be 3 clicks for Sokka's name, and cards behind the Tattoo Bola. Another trick shot, the final one. Let's see if this ice gets res. It wasn't the turn before. That's 6 credits as touch cards. Draft is the first one. Followed up. I can't tell what that is. It looks like an Ikoa.
I cannot see it.
I think it's an Ikoa.
Oh, that does look like... That's an Ikoa. That's an Ikoa.
Sokka considering it. Yep, again, there should be 2 more credits there. Finally finding points.
You also need to spend a click on that.
Yep.
Okay, yep. So the second click this turn.
Only 1 click left here, which means the remote server, if it is a Pulse, it's going to be a credit problem for Tzeentchling. But if it's an Ikoa, you can steal 6 in this turn. You're
That's a gatekeeper.
Now, money is not going to be too big of a deal. We do have a turbine, so you have to pay 4. You have to boost only once, if I'm not mistaken, break. Yeah. We have to get back something. We're going to trash a program to get back our propeller. The question is, which program is going to hit the heap here? There's a chance you can go for the turbine. None of this ice is really big. We haven't seen any of the bigger stuff just yet, but...
Oh, that is very funny, right? Because if you trash the Coupulation, all that work...
No, you're never.
You can't trash the Coupulation. Yes. You can't.
You can't give that back to
Archives. You have to trash a real program.
Now, we've seen, I think, one drafter on the top of the deck or an HQ, one in the bin here.
And it is the turbine.
So we're going to go for the turbine that was installed on like click 1, maybe click 2 of the game, but Propeller's going to come in with his 4 power counters. So Tattoo Bowl, the tzeentchling can get the swap here, be on 4 credits, but there's a chance there's an agenda the remote server. On top of the Mana Garm, tzeentchling can res, but Sokka can just pay the 5 credit tax.
There's also, this would be an Asa trigger on the Corp turn if there's a Mana Garm in hand. Could potentially drop it right now with a Tattoo Bowl swap. Yeah,
you can also just throw the agenda into Archives. Now, that will actually mean that Sokka running Archives doesn't have to click to steal the Aqua. If you do, just get that in there.
Oh, so pulling back a Spin Doctor.
Oh, so sick. So there is an agenda in there. So the Tattoo Bowl is going to flip. Roll out. Now, you want to keep that on the table before you put it to hand. We need to get another piece of ice here on the table. Okay, great. 2 hands, that's fine.
Came from a separate place.
And so now we're installing on top of this.
I installed and trashed a card. I wonder what that card was.
Sokka giving that
and there's a Mana Garm.
A smile. And the Mana Garm is protecting the Spin Doctor here.
Certainly can't click through it. Only 1 remaining, so this will cost 5. Starting to actually tax out Sokka's resources a little bit.
Yes. Now we know
look, Spin Doctor.
Paying 5 to check. We do know here. Oh, there's no window to res it. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, no res window.
You have to res it before. Oh, that's a very
that's impactful, a big mistake.
Potential error. In the bin, it's going to be the Aqua. Now, we still have the Vitruvius counter, so you can bring it back.
You can pull it back to hand, but then it's known to be in hand, and you don't have the Vitruvius counter for the Seamless.
That is wild. Yeah, of course, you have to res the Spin Doctor before Sokka pays the breach cost. As soon as we're breaching, there's no more paid ability windows between those. Besides those very rare Axis paid ability windows, they say Axis, they have an arrow. Unfortunately, we know that there's Aqua in the bin. Now, Sokka can't steal it, because Sokka only has 1 more click, if I'm not mistaken. And Aqua costs a click and 2.
With a run here.
Yeah.
But it also does mean that Chris might not have the winning agenda in hand anymore to use.
Yes. This is tricky. Now, the money, we've seen 2 fully operationals in the bin. You can just pull back the Spin Doctor with that Vitruvius counter. It's all about the last 3-2, and we're just running Archives.
Enough, the Aqua is there.
Just running for the flip, I think, just to see what it is, to make sure it is the Aqua, right? Yeah, you got to keep it honest.
So here's a draw from Chris.
First click draw here. There might be 1 more Spin Doctor. You still have the Vitruvius counter if you want to get the spin. You want to get an Asa install. You might want to work on that Austerity as well. That's another strong win condition. If you have 5 credits, Austerity starts with 3 power counters. You can just 5-3 from hand. tzeentchling. Drawing up again. 1 click left here, and with the Aqua in the bin.
This does help pad the hand if you're going to bring the Aqua back.
I think you just get the Spin Doctor back, right? And put that on the table and shuffle it away. Maybe that's safer.
That's probably icing up Archives, though. I'd imagine the Tattoo Bola.
That has to be the Ablative.
Oh, Ablative, yeah. Ablative
because then Ablative does a Spin Doctor potentially. You can't get the Aqua out there. It says non-agenda. But Ablative is one of the ones. We know there's no Hush in this list, so the Ablative text will be relevant. If there's another Spin Doctor in the bin, you can get something on the table. You can't get an agenda out there, but Ablative is often seen protecting Archives in these situations. The big thing is tzeentchling's only on 2 credits.
Sokka does have 4 clicks this turn.
Yep.
So
did not have time to hit
Sokka
the
having a normal turn for the first time in a while.
Sokka thinking this through. I think we spent our first click maybe working the contract.
Here comes the Vitruvius counter. The Aqua does go to hand.
Oh, it's just in hand. 1 in potentially 6 here. A nice way to deal with Lat, but that ice is not being res. Getting put there as a bit of a bluff. But there is a face-up Spin Doctor. If that was an Ablative, that could have done the work here. So with 2 clicks left here, you have 1 shot in HQ. But you can also use the Cupulation.
You can.
Now, if you get rid of the Audacity, there's a really cool fork here. Because you can use the Cupulation for multi-axis to hit HQ to get the agenda. But if you do that, you let go of the Audacity, which means if tzeentchling has access to Vitruvius, can't just fast advance on 2 credits. Wait, Ablative for running?
But there's no Vitruvius counter left, though.
Oh, you're right.
So we'd need to shuffle it back and find it.
Yes. Now, it looks like this is a run. So the Vitruvius counter was used preemptively, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so.
And this might be to get an Asa install.
That is the Spin Doctor.
So Spin Doctor getting
so no Asa install, no money for it.
Down to no credits with a Spin Doctor. You can pad your hand, but I'm imagining at this point R&D is actually going to give more agendas into HQ than anything else.
Probably.
Now Sokka has to decide how to use the Cupulation, whether you want to go for the multi-axis or not. We're running HQ.
It's such an interesting line.
I think we're sending it. Return to sender, the Audacity to see. I think it's going to be half of the hand. Now you can res the Spin Doctor to make it 8, but I'd be more scared. Oh, it's 1 in 4. First card, It's the drafter. We need to see 2 more. It's on the
drafter.
leftmost. A 1's going to hit it.
There
Ikawa.
it is. Ikawa.
Sokka's going to find it up on 6 points. Both players 6 to 6.
points.
Last axis here, we know it's a mana garm that is most of Sokka's credits to trash. It's going to return back. Now, Audacity is in the bin with the spin doctor on the table.
This last click is spent now, correct?
I think it might be.
I am at 5 right now.
Now, tzeentchling is
Yeah,
1
yeah,
credit
tzeentchling-
short of threatening to win. 1 credit short. If you
Full
draw
help.
the 1 Audacity back into hand, you are install advanced Audacity does cost you a credit. Now, just checking this list really quickly, there's no subliminal messaging, there's no red level clearance, there's no way to clicklessly get a credit, so you have to survive 1 more turn. Now, simulchips can bring
terrifying.
back the compilations, but at this point, there's so many agendas left in the game. Actually, still a couple. We're 12 points out, but R&D, we saw send a message in hand, just a 5-3, no defensive text. No matter what, tzeentchling is just going to click for credits, hit that austerity. I think on Ice on HQ, not much you can afford to res here, just discarding 1 card. There could be an agenda in archives there.
There could be.
The problem is, if Sokka just wants to do deep dive, you always end up running archives. It's a hard bluff to call. Starting
Okay,
here by
so
running the
not
pulse.
going to be a deep dive this turn. We are seeing a run on the MCA.
Yes. So taking that down, that is a win condition tzeentchling had access to next turn, actually.
It does take. So it does. Is that only 2 to trash?
I think it's 3.
Okay, so clicking for credits after.
We'll see.
It's 3 to. It is 3 to trash.
I think it's just
okay.
click for
So it was
credits,
on 6 credits, down to 3 now. So it is a spin now in the remote from the
This gives you a bit of time if you want to jettison away some agendas into archives, but fully operational.
fully operational. There we
with
go.
a double echo here. So last turn on 2 credits, if I'm not mistaken, tzeentchling had the ability to austerity, gain extra clicks, click for a credit, score Vitruvius from hand. So Sokka understanding that turn, you have to take down the austerity before it could be a problem.
So all the echoes for money here. Tzeentchling back up on 7 credits.
4 minutes left.
So
Who's the highest seed going into this round? I don't think time is going to matter.
I think Tzeentchling is.
I think you might be
Tzeentchling
right
was in
there.
the top half, if I remember correctly.
Braun,
Where's
that's the
Braun?
R&D.
Okay, well, the 1 credit is exactly what you need.
Now, Propeller does get through this for 3 credits. That'll be all Sokka's money. Unable to steal Ikawa's, but anything else here is game. Now, just letting this fire, it seems you can install an ice from archives if you'd like here. So letting that fire in, Ablative coming back.
Ablative coming back.
That was face up, you have to
opens
reveal
up
it.
lines.
But an Ablative on R&D here, I don't think Sokka's going to be clicking through this one. So on 1 credit, with 1 card in the remote server 2, it is behind a 1 credit break. We're running HQ.
Running HQ. This could be game.
I don't know where to
This
send a
could be
message
game.
win. We'll find out. Oh, it's in the hand.
there. It's still
You
there.
need a
It's still
roll of
there.
5.
Still
Sokka,
there.
how good is your die? That's a 2.
That's a 2.
Oh, Hagen dodging it. It was a 1, turns out. We're going left to right.
I was sweating there.
Now, we've run R&D, but it wasn't successful. This won't be a deep dive turn. We're going back. It's a 1 and
Back
5
into
here.
HQ.
Now, tzeentchling could have ejected that send a message potentially, but it's a 1. Finding it!
That's a
5-3
game.
in
Oh,
hand!
wow. So Sokka does get the win here, does continue on in this World Championship. The three-peat is still alive, Andre.
alive.
The three-peat is still alive.
Oh, Sokka this morning got swept, I think, 2 games in a row. Not feeling great, but he is just trucking through this. Well played. What a wild start. Tzeentchling faster than you'd
You can see it on
expect.
Sokka's face. You can
Yes.
see the relief, the surprise.
Those agenda points sneaking up the Vitruvius counters, changing the game, saying, oh, Vitruvius with 2, this game is suddenly going a lot faster. And this jukebox deck from the SF players is incredible.
Such a fun deck to watch.
Such a cool Asa deck. We've seen some different Asa decks. You know, Jai's playing that sort of Holloman list. We've seen time and time again. Very, very exciting. Looks like we're going to be on very, well, not exactly soon before some upcoming games. Shout out to tzeentchling taking the 2nd loss there.
Yeah, what a strong finish by tzeentchling. Like,
Yes.
top 8 here at the World Championships.
Had a fantastic weekend.
Incredible run. Incredible run.
Yeah, facing off of Sokka, I think getting some applause there too is incredible.
Yeah.
Now this we'll be back in just a bit. There's
We will
going
be.
to be
Well,
a dinner break here.
There is a dinner break. The stream will be back. This is actually the end of the line for me.
Oh no way!
In terms of this World Championship. So this is my last time on stream. It's been a pleasure, Andre.
Pants, thanks so much for joining me.
Yeah, and I just want to remind everyone out there that Netrunner is a great game, isn't it? I almost said a
something
word I
else.
wasn't supposed to say on stream. Netrunner's a great game, and I am so honored to be here. Thank you to NSG for letting me come on the stream and watch incredible games of Netrunner, talk about one of my favorite topics, which is Netrunner, and hopefully bring all of you out there some insight into the games. I'm happy to be here. I've been Neuropantser.
Pants, thanks so much for joining me. My name is Andrej for the Metball Grid. We're going to be throwing it just to a lunch break. We'll be back in a production will update with some text, whether it's 45 minutes an hour, but these players here, it's about 7 o'clock, have been playing since 8:30 largely in the morning.
Yeah.
We're going to get some dinner. Don't go anywhere. You're watching the 2024 World Championship here in San Francisco.